Your love is the best part, love is the best part. Your love is the best part, love is the best part. Even if it all falls apart, your love is the best part, love is the best part.
Well, Roger was relentless and he would not leave me alone. She basically saw me and said, I'm gonna marry you, and within 2 weeks said, can I pursue you? And in my mind that meant, you want to marry me? So after knowing him for 2 weeks, he just, was relentless and kept coming after me and asking if he could get time alone with me and get to know me more. And we were in a house of prayer doing night watches, and I'd find him often getting closer to me and asking me to sing on his set and do things like that. So that would be the start, I guess, of us getting to know each other, was in a house of prayer. And
yeah, I mean, the moment that I met her, she had asked to play my guitar, and I just got struck stupid by her beauty. Her beauty just made me dumb, and I felt like a swirl around it. It's so much so that I just had to pause and go, Lord, what's going on? Because I didn't expect this tonight, meeting her. I didn't expect to feel so swirly. And then being in the prayer meetings, we did we were like midnight to 6 a.m. prayer meetings, like really intense. But I saw that she was unafraid to get the mic and just pray her heart out. And I saw in her this passion for souls. And then I also saw she knew how to drink in the presence of God. And I said, she's beautiful, she's fiery and deep. I'm gonna marry her. So I got really excited because people were encouraging me, hey, Gabriella really likes you. I'm like, well, I really like her, Other leaders that were in the night watch. So I had approached my leaders and said, hey, what do you think? And they're like, yeah, go for it. But they didn't know when I was gonna go for it. So I got overly excited and I took her into the debriefing room. And I tried to introduce the idea with a joke, and she didn't laugh. And then I started to tell her, hey, look, I would really love to get to know you. I'd love to pursue you. And she said, oh, so have you talked to your leaders about this? And tell me, how many other girls have you like this? Wow. And have you liked another girl like this? And if so, how many? And I'm an honest man, so it was like the breath just got pow,
but the
knocked
point
right
of
out
it,
of me.
The point of it for me was to be like, you like me, but you really don't like me. You only think you like me. You'll be over this. This is just like puppy love. Because that was the reason why I didn't realize I was crushing his heart. But I was thinking, you're gonna realize, you've probably liked other people. We're just meant to be friends. So that's why I was kind of like, how many people have you liked? See, that was at least what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, we talked later. I apologized. I went to her because she actually came to confront me and say, basically, Gabriella was one of the leaders on my set and the night watch. And so we hung out, we'd do travel teams together, and we were friends. So she just came to confront me like, how come we're not hanging out anymore? And all my friends said, look, she led you on. Stay away from that girl. You're going to get a broken heart. Oh. And Gabriella's like, listen, this is who I am. And really, I got to see that she's just a woman that feared the Lord, that just wasn't down for some guy to just roll up and drop a line, but that she guarded that. And I don't want to tell you a story, but you prayed that you'd be blinded to the guy. So anyways, I went up to her room when we had a meeting outside her room, and I said, well, I'm sorry, this is why I liked you, and I told her the reasons that I liked her.
There were 5 reasons. He's like, the reason why I wanted to pursue you is I saw 5 reasons. The Lord showed me these things about you. And this had been 6 years in the making after I got saved, and the Lord had saved me from a broken heart. And he had written these things to me he told me to date him for a year. And within this year, he told me these 5 things that my husband would see in me. and value in me because that's what he put in me. And so it was like Roger starts telling me these things word for word that the Lord had told me my husband would see in me. And at this time, I'm like, God, how could you let him into our secrets, you know? Because I'm convinced at this point, Roger's not the one for me. Knowing, though, later I realized I had prayed that God would totally blind me to the man who was going to be my husband, because I wanted to be pursued and I wanted to be fought for, because I had never had that. And so when he was, again, relentless, just after me over and over and over again, I started realizing, God, you shared something that was really intimate between us. What are you doing? So at that point, I knew something might be happening, but I didn't want to lead him on necessarily, but I didn't want to miss something that God might have been doing. So I would tell Roger, I don't know, I just haven't heard from the Lord yet. So I had to have a solid word from God, because Jesus was the only man over 6 years that he was the only one who taught me to trust men again. And so he would ask me every day, has the Lord spoken to you? Has the Lord spoken to you? And at this time, I wasn't dreaming at all. I'm naturally a dreamer at night. And suddenly Roger says, in 3 days, you're going to have a dream. And I was like, okay. And literally 3 days, I have a dream. And in the dream, there's a girl there, and she's asking, have you made a decision yet? And I said, no. I would give her like all these excuses, and she would combat these excuses with truth. Like some of them had to do with my own insecurity, self-hatred, stuff like that. Like just not believing somebody could really love me. Well, then another person comes in my dream, asks me the same question, and her name is Aseneth, and she was in my dream, and she says to me, have you made a decision yet? And I said, well, I don't know if it's of God. I just don't know if it's of the Father. And she says to me, God works through natural circumstances and the desires of your heart. So 3 times in the dream she asks me, and 3 times she says that same thing to me. And I woke up with that resonating. God works through natural circumstances and the desires of your heart. So that morning I got up kind of shaken from that dream because it felt so real. And the first person I run into is this girl named Aseneth. And I was like, hey, what does your name mean? And she said, it means of the Father. Wow. And I've never heard of her name before. I thought it was like her parents just made up some name, you know? And so it was kind of like, okay, God, what are you saying? Like, can I give into the feelings that I'm starting to have for him, or am I just feeling flattered right now? Well, then that day, my dad calls me, my natural father, and he tells me, so what's going on with you and this guy, Roger? Because I told him, my family and I are really close, so I told him about this guy who liked me and didn't know what to do about it. And I said, I don't know, don't ask me. And he said, well, let me tell you, I've been fasting and praying, and if he asks you to go out with him, I want you to go out with him. If he wants to spend time with you, spend time with him. I'm not asking you to marry him, but you'll never know unless you let him in a little bit.
Yeah, and that story sounds so epic, about me saying the dream thing. But, I know the Bible, spirit of the prophet, all that stuff. But literally, I felt like my mouth was borrowed, to the point that when she left, after I said, you're going to have a dream in 3 days, I was like, what's up, God? Like, I would not say that. Yeah. You need to give her a dream then. Like, if this is real, you better. And I had forgot, and I was actually going to, just talk to Gabriella, because we were spending enough time, just talk her and say, like, are you leading me on, or is there something? And God said, no, not today. You have a gentler approach, and you just ask her again to go on a date. And when she did, I jumped up and down and freaked out, and yes.
I literally have another encounter, because it felt so much more real than a dream. And Jesus came up to me without saying anything. He walked into my dream, and I remember him like stroking my hair, and without saying anything but just talking through his eyes, he was telling me, like, do you trust me? And I was like, of course, you're the only man I've ever felt safe with, that I trust, that I know I can put my heart in, it's gonna be safe. And he told me then trust me, he's the one I've chosen for you. And so I was like, okay, God, wherever you lead me, I will follow you, because I wanted to go there, but it was like my heart just was so raw. I didn't want to be hurt again. So when Roger asked me to marry him was actually the day my best friend got married. My dad, he had flown out to Arizona and surprised me, took my dad out for breakfast, asked if he could pursue me into marriage, asked for my hand in marriage, and he didn't have any money, he didn't have a ring yet, he just wanted to make sure he could do it. And he gets home, he comes back to me, and my dad asks me basically, will you marry this man? Because I gave him my blessing, and I'm like thinking, oh my gosh. Okay, yes, I'll marry him, even though he's supposed to ask me, I think.
That's so awkward.
So your dad asked you if Roger would marry you?
Yes.
I'm in the garage while it's going down. I'm like, oh, they're having a moment. Maybe I should go
He's
another
like crying.
room.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Way to go, Dad.
Right.
So that evening, needless to say, because my parents know my friends and everything, everybody at the wedding's congratulating us on our engagement.
And he has an ass.
Super awkward.
Yes. No.
Super awkward.
I have no
Coming
ring.
to the table, congratulations, guys. We heard you're engaged.
Wow.
Oh my
Slightly
god.
uncomfortable.
Wow, this got awkward fast.
Yeah, that would be a little bit uncomfortable.
So, my mom is a planner, so she's already telling me, we need to plan this out. I got to figure out when you're going to do this. We need a date.
I need to schedule my vacation.
And so Roger's like, well, I told you, I was like, we need to go after the wedding. Let's go out. Let's figure out our schedule and plan out a date, I guess. And so in his heart, though, we're driving. He's like,
You were saying we need to plan our wedding.
yeah, we need to plan our wedding.
But he hasn't even asked you yet.
No, but
Oh my gosh, this is that is awesome.
So he's in his heart. He's told me like, how can in the world can I plan a wedding without even asking you and giving you a ring? So we get to the restaurant and we order, and he's like, I'll be right back. I have to get something from the car. And so I give him the keys, or I have to go get something. So I give him the car keys, and all of a sudden, 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and my heart starts getting really in turmoil, because you gotta understand, in my past, I've had guys just ditch me on dates, tell me things and not pick me up, go places and then not meet me, or then literally just leave me at a place. So it's bringing up the pain of my past of what, Jesus, I thought you healed me from this. I thought he was a safe guy. And I started freaking out a little bit, thinking, well, okay, he just couldn't handle it. He doesn't want to be married to me, sob story. And so, feeling pity party for me. And so I get up to walk out because I'm embarrassed, because the waitress is looking at me like, honey, you just got ditched. So I am angry and I'm embarrassed, and I get up to leave, and all of a sudden I see Roger walking toward me. And so suddenly I get even more mad. I'm like, oh my gosh, where did he go? He left me alone, feeling unprotected, And all of a sudden the Lord clicked in me, and he told me, let him love you. Receive his love. Don't get angry. Don't yell. Don't get upset because you're hurt. Just receive the love he wants to give you the way he wants to do it. So we go back to the table, and he starts to tell me, he gets down on one knee and he says, Gabrielle, I will not always know how to lead us, but I do know the man who does know how to lead us. And I promise I will lead you to the cross every time I don't know how to. And he said, but I can't plan a wedding without asking you to marry me. So he gets down on one knee and he gives me a plastic Chuck E. Cheese ring, which is why he was gone, because he was searching for a ring to give me, to ask me to marry him. And so I said yes to a plastic Chuck E. Cheese ring.
Yeah, and also, the thing that brought healing to my heart is I was previously going to be engaged to somebody else, and I had given that girl a ring, and when I gave her the ring, she looked at that ring and said, that's all. And so when I gave She literally looked at the ring and said, that's it? And so when I gave Gabriella a Chuck E. Cheese ring, and she cried and said she'd be my wife, that brought healing to my heart. And so, like, even all throughout the process, there was God healing, you know. So, yeah.
Even if it all falls apart, your love is the best part. Love is the best part. Your love is the best part. Love is the best part.